Well, welcome to Rye, and I'm here on the final leg of my journey along the Three Rivers. I'm going to try and somehow bring it all together. Now, on the other rivers, I've actually visited the places that the bridges had relevance to, like Newenden, Bodgham, Selscombe, etc. I'm not going to do quite the same at Rye. Quite frankly, there is so much material and so much video out there about Rye, I don't honestly think I can really do it justice. So I'm although it goes against the grain a bit, there's also a problem. There's so many hills here, and I can't do hills, unfortunately, because of a health problem. So I'm going to keep the history of Rye to a minimum and just concentrate on the rivers. And I recommend you to, if you're interested in Rye, to have a look round and do the research yourselves. But what we're looking at here is the land gate. Now, towards the end of the 14th century, there was I keep talking about storms, but there was another flood and storm here, which destroyed part of the eastern part of the town, which is below me on the right hand side. And then 2 years later the French came and sacked the town, and so they built these fortifications. And apart from one other place, one other structure, this is about all that's left of the 14th stroke early 15th century fortifications in Rye. And this is known as the land gate. And I don't think that clock's right. It's not 7:30 in the morning, it's actually only 5:30. And there is the land gate guarding the way into Rye from this end. Beginning to get a bit lighter now, but I am going to take a little walk through because there are some things I want to show you. So we'll keep the camera on and we'll keep it rolling as I walk. Now, many years ago, before these great floods and storms, Rye was almost an island. And, you can see how over the years the land has been reclaimed. We're looking out towards the Romney Marshes now, and there is the Rother, just a little bit of it. The tide's sort of half in and half out, I think. That is now where the main fishing fleet is moored up, and you can see how the channel has been dredged out and the flood banks built up. But we'll take a little walk and see what we can find. At least at this time of the morning, I won't be bothered by hordes of tourists. I don't think I'm going to be bothered to have to pay at this time of day for parking. But we'll just double check. 9 AM to 6 PM, yeah, so we're okay. This is the main high street and Rye town centre. That pseudo ancient building over there. Look at this old-fashioned sweetie shop. Yeah, remember those? Rhubarb and custard. I used to love them. Sadly, there seems to be a lot of rubbish here this morning where the bins haven't been emptied, and the seagulls are now starting to tear the things apart. There's one of the side streets, lots and lots of real old buildings here. There's a more accurate look at the time. That's telling me that it's coming up to 5 to 6, which is probably fairly accurate. I like these old street lamps here. It is so nice and quiet without the old tourists here. And, there's the old grammar school building over there. Yeah. But what we're looking at up there is the church. And when they're working, right up the top there are the quarter boys, which should strike on the quarter of an hour, 10 to 6. And we'll go up there because I need to go and take a walk round past the church. So this is where we leave the high street. And sadly there's obviously some work going on here, which is not very pleasing to look at, but there we go. Let's go. Up past the antique shops. Just a bit of a breeze on the air this morning. Now, seagulls do not like me very much. I'm going to pause here because there is a shop been established for some time, Simon the Pieman. Now I don't know whether they still make them, but 40 odd years ago these people here made the most delicious pork pies I've ever eaten. Even better than the ones at Ironbridge. And here we have more buildings at the old Guildhall. Yeah. Even though I'm not doing the whole of Rye, there's still plenty of history to see. This established in 1920. On the one hand you don't think that's old, And yet that's 100 years now. Amazing, isn't it? I was in there last September with my cousin, and they didn't appear to have any pies, but very nice toasted tea cake and coffee, which was well received. And this is the ancient vicarage here, where John Fletcher was born in 1579. He was a contemporary, as you can see there, of Beaumont, Shakespeare and Massinger. Anyway, let's take a walk. I've got my breath back a bit now. You see, just walking up that hill really takes my breath away. Let's walk through the churchyard. Lots of lovely old houses, really old houses. All around here. Some interesting touches to the architecture here, these window shapes, quite unusual. And then we have another one of these cannon shaped graves. No idea what that really represents. And 1856. Are they military personnel, one wonders? Look at this lovely stained glass window here. Notice this almost extra bit added on, as if it's going to stop the rest of the church from falling down. We noticed that in Winchelsea. If you care to go back and look at my visits to Winchelsea, you'll see the church there has several of those. And you know what? I reckon they were possibly built to stop the church falling. That's got a definite lean there, hasn't it? Can you see that? It's difficult to convey with the camera, but definitely that middle section is bowed out. Interesting. And, we passed the War Memorial, so I'm just gonna turn round. Not got enough. And there's another church on the corner here, the Rye Methodist Church, right opposite the main parish church. There we are with the War Memorial. Rye Parish Church. And the Rye Methodist Church. Now, here we have Rye Castle, which is also known for some reason as the Wipers Tower, or Ypres Tower. And this, along with the land gate, about the last bit of the fortifications that were built after the French sacked the town of Rye. So not much left of the town walls. This is now the castle museum, by the way, and there's another good watering hole. The tip when you come to Rye, you come down here. If you go down those steps in front of you there, halfway down on the left hand side, the lovely 17th century inn, the Wipers Castle. Really nice place to have a meal and a drink. And here we are on the gun garden, complete with guns and cannonballs. Now this would have been a good place to see any invading marauders and fire guns at them. But from my point of view this morning, it is actually the perfect place for me to show you. You'll see the yacht mast there. That is the River Tillingham and Brede combined. And they've come from round the corner there, and they flow together. I don't know if you can see that. I wish I'd have got here a minute ago, but you can see a boat, or the mast of a boat, the fishing boat, just coming back in now along the Rother, because having flowed under its last bridge, there is the Rother, and there is that. You can just see the top of that fishing boat making his way along. Now he'll have probably got some place, I guess, this morning. Rye Bay Place is delicious, and we're looking now at the Rother as it goes out. And there you see some of the light industry down at the current day Rye Harbour. Rye Harbour now is 2 miles away from the town. Isn't that strange? Now, as I said in an earlier video, when we're coming along the Tillingham, or it wasn't the Tillingham, was it? It's when I was round the corner. The floods and storms that destroyed the eastern part of the town down below, what they did, they forced the fishing fleet to go round into what is now the Strand Quay, Strand Meadow, where the Tillingham is now. But after all the toing and froing and humming and hawing, and when the Rother was left to settle, what we found was that the fishing fleet came back round to this side because the channel was better for it. And of course we had some newer and bigger boats as the new wharves were being built further out towards the sea, and that's how it settled down, and that's how it remains today. There is still some shipbuilding on the Tillingham. There's a couple of small boat building yards round the corner, so there's still a bit of the old industry here, but not very much. But I'm curious as to what's going on out there. Is that somebody walking on the mud? I can't believe it is, but no, look at that. Just something sticking out of the water there. So that's it. Would have been nice to show the sunrise. We'll probably get to see it somewhere else. But, I've gone from the sublime to the ridiculous here, haven't I? I'm getting up too early in the morning, getting my filming done before the sun comes up. But anyhow, there's your final view of the Rother. And that's how it's looking today. Now that's something interesting. WD. War Department, maybe? Could that be something to do with the Second World War? I can imagine they had a lookout post and things here during the last war, because this would have been a prime point of entry for the Germans. But, do you know, all these years I've been coming here, I've led tours around here, coach parties. I've never seen that. How amazing. One feature of these old churches has got to be the trees. Look. And this one here. How about that? And this churchyard's full of them. I'm going to zoom in on that one. Look at that. And then further over, look at the mighty trunk on that one. They trees have got more than one story to tell, I'll bet. There we go. This is why it's worth getting up at some unearthly hour of the morning in the pitch dark to drive 30 miles from home. Lovely, peaceful time of day for filming, especially when you need just to stand back and admire buildings like this. Isn't that lovely? Even for this little courtyard running down beside it, look at that. Absolutely amazing. Almost every corner round by the church here, you've got something else. Look at that. It ain't only the trees that could tell a story. I mean, look at these doors. They go back a few years, I'll bet. What are we looking at here? 15th, 16th century? That's got to be 16th century at the latest, surely. Maybe bordering on 17th. And then we come to what probably more Georgian in nature, especially looking at the foot scrapers there. Keep the camera up, boy. Just a final different view the church there. Now, I want to go down here. There's Charles Lamb's house on the corner here. Now looked after by the National Trust, and unfortunately you've heard of the novelist Henry James. Well, look, here's a plaque in his honour but you probably can't read it. It was put up in 1965 in a garden house on that site, on the other side of the wall. It was destroyed in an air raid on the 18th of August 1940, and that's where the novelist Henry James wrote many of his works. But he actually lived here in Charles Lamb's house, and I wonder whether he moved there just so he could say, I've lived in the same house as Charles Lamb. You never know, do you? Higgledy-piggledy old pavements here, but I had to bring you around here because even though I'm not, but I almost have really, haven't I, done the whole of Rye. This is probably what we're approaching. It's the most famous building in Rye and the most famous street in Rye, because I'm standing on Mermaid Street, and there is the Mermaid Inn. Dates back to about 1186 or somewhere like that. It was rebuilt in 1420. Rebuilt in 1420. Probably the most famous building in Rye, this one. It's a bit expensive in there, but you can imagine probably the coaches coming up the hill there and turning into here and going, I'm not going to, it's private property, so I'm not going to go round the back, but there will be the courtyard behind where people would rest and the horses would be changed, and that is Mermaid Street.